The cell that should have stayed locked. If you're the kind of person who likes sleeping with the lights off after a story like this, you might want to rethink that. Subscribe, hit the bell, and hold your breath, because this one takes us deep inside a place where mercy doesn't survive long. San Quentin. The morning fog rolled in thick over the San Francisco Bay, curling around the razor wire like smoke from a dying fire. Inside San Quentin State Prison, the air carried the faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the echo of boots on concrete. It was 5:47 a.m. when Correctional Officer Daniel Torres found something that made him drop his flashlight. In cell block C, one of the oldest wings of the prison, inmate number 47219, Raymond Razor Knox, lay motionless on his bunk. His cell door was locked from the outside. No signs of struggle, no bruises, no wounds. Just a calm, lifeless body, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Raymond wasn't just any inmate. He'd once been a name in the papers, the kind of man who could command respect or fear with a look. Convicted of double homicide, but rumored to have made a deal that let him live where others didn't. Now he was dead, and no one could explain how. Detective Maria Bennett, a former San Quentin Corrections investigator turned cold case analyst, was called back to consult. She hadn't stepped foot in the prison since her partner had been killed during a riot 5 years earlier. As she stood at the gate, the cold air carried that same metallic scent, blood and bleach, memory and regret. Inside, Warden Alan Griggs briefed her. "We found no signs of forced entry. The cameras show nothing. His cellmate says he was fine at lights out." Maria frowned. There's no such thing as fine in San Quentin. When she stepped into cell 309, it was like time had frozen. Everything was neatly in place. Books stacked, bed made. The small mirror cracked from age. But something was off. On the wall, drawn faintly in pencil, was a single word: promise. The autopsy report came back clean, no poison, no heart attack, no trauma. Cause of death: undetermined. But there was one thing the coroner couldn't explain: small, fresh ink marks under Knox's fingernails, like he'd been writing something before he died. By the second day, the prison was on edge. Whispers spread fast: ghost cell, inside job, bad deal gone wrong. But Maria knew better. San Quentin didn't have ghosts. It had secrets. She dug into Knox's file. He was serving life without parole, but had applied for a transfer weeks before his death. The request was denied, signed by Griggs himself. Knox had also been part of a new rehabilitation program, the Promise Initiative, designed to help violent offenders change their path through writing and mentorship. The irony wasn't lost on her. That night, Maria visited the program room, a small classroom inside the north wing. Papers were still scattered on the tables from the last session. She found one piece half-burned in a trash bin. Only a few lines were legible. "If this ever gets out, they'll bury it deeper than the bay." She said she could get me out. I just had to tell the truth. Maria's pulse quickened. She snapped a photo and pocketed the paper. Someone inside the prison had promised Knox freedom in exchange for a confession. But confession to what? As she left the classroom, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop digging. You're next." Her instincts screamed inside job. The cameras being dead, the lack of evidence, the clean cell, it all pointed to someone who knew the system too well. She requested access to visitor logs, but the warden refused, citing ongoing internal review. That was code for cover-up. That night, Maria stayed late, reviewing footage frame by frame. At 2:03 a.m., just before Knox's estimated time of death, a shadow moved across the cell block, a guard's silhouette, based on the uniform. But the face was obscured. And when she enhanced the image, she saw something chilling. The guard's badge was missing. The following morning, Warden Griggs called her into his office. "Detective Bennett, we appreciate your help, but this investigation is closed. Official cause of death, natural causes." Maria stared him down. There's nothing natural about a man dying in a locked cell with fear in his eyes. Griggs didn't blink. "Be careful what you dig for. In here, the truth's got a body count." Outside, the fog rolled in again, thicker than before. Maria lit a cigarette and stared at the ancient walls of San Quentin, a place where stories were buried deeper than the inmates who told them. Then her phone buzzed again, a photo message. It was a picture of her old partner's badge, lying on Knox's bunk. The walls have eyes. Maria froze at the image on her phone, her partner's badge, the one buried with him after the riot. Someone inside San Quentin was sending her a message, and it wasn't a warning. It was a challenge. By morning, she was back inside the cell block. The guards watched her closely. Their silence was heavy. She met Officer Torres in the corridor. "You didn't send that photo," she said. He shook his head. "No one should have that badge. Unless they were there that night." The riot. 5 years ago. Her partner, Detective Ryan Cole, had died trying to stop an inmate escape. The prison surveillance had mysteriously failed then too. The case was buried, like everything else in San Quentin. Maria pushed for access to old security logs. When she finally found them in a dusty archive room, she noticed something. Knox had been in the same cell block the night Ryan died. And one guard's name appeared in both incidents. Officer Mills. She tracked him down in the mess hall. "Funny coincidence, Mills," she said, sliding a photo of Knox across the table. "You were on shift both nights someone ended up dead." Mills' hand trembled around his coffee cup. "You don't understand. This place runs on deals. Knox talked too much. Someone higher up wanted him quiet." Before Maria could press further, the alarm blared. The entire prison went into lockdown. Over the intercom, Warden Griggs' voice echoed. "All staff remain at posts. No one moves." Maria ducked into a control room. Cameras flickered, then cut to static. She tried the radio. Dead silence. Then she heard it, footsteps, fast and deliberate. She turned. Officer Mills lay face down, his throat bruised, eyes open in shock. Pinned under his hand was a folded note, written in Knox's handwriting. "She promised protection. I told her everything. Now I'm next." The word she twisted in Maria's mind. She promised protection. Not a guard. Not an inmate. A woman in power. She stormed toward Griggs' office. The door was locked. Through the small window, she saw Griggs on a call, his expression tight, sweating. On his desk, papers marked Promise Initiative funding, Private Review Board. Maria's gut went cold. The Promise Initiative wasn't about rehabilitation. It was a front, a deal between select inmates and outsiders trading information for early releases. Knox must have discovered the truth and tried to expose it. A guard approached from behind. "Detective, you shouldn't be here." Maria turned, hand instinctively near her holster. "Who's running the initiative?" He hesitated. "You don't get it. The woman behind it. She's not one of us. She owns us." Before he could say more, the lights flickered out. In the darkness, a faint click, a cell door opening somewhere deep inside the block. Maria's flashlight cut through the pitch-black hall. A whisper traveled through the air. "They're not done yet." Then, over the prison PA, a voice she hadn't heard in 5 years echoed, distorted and chilling. "You should have stayed gone, Maria." Her blood ran cold. It was Ryan's voice, her dead partner. The sound faded into static, then silence. Somewhere deep in San Quentin, the truth had just come alive. The promise. Maria stood frozen in the corridor, her flashlight beam shaking against the concrete walls. Ryan's voice, it couldn't be. He was dead. She had seen the body, buried him herself. But that voice, it was his. She turned toward the control panel, heart hammering. Someone had accessed the old audio system, replaying archived recordings from the riot. But how? Only high-level clearance could do that. And only one person inside San Quentin had that clearance, Warden Griggs. Maria stormed through the corridors as the prison lights flickered back to life, casting long blue shadows across the block. Alarms wailed. Doors slammed. The air reeked of fear and sweat. Guards shouted orders no one was listening to. She pushed open Griggs' office door. Empty. Files scattered, papers shredded, drawers ripped from their hinges. A faint humming came from the back of the room, a hidden panel behind a bookshelf. Maria yanked it open. Inside was a small elevator. No indicator, no buttons, just a card reader. Next to it lay an ID badge, Griggs. She took a deep breath and swiped it. The elevator jolted, descending into darkness. The air grew colder, heavier. When it stopped, the doors opened to a place that shouldn't exist beneath San Quentin, a subterranean wing. No records, no signs. Rows of cells lined the corridor. Inside them, prisoners stared silently through reinforced glass. Some wore medical gowns. Others didn't move at all. Computers hummed behind glass walls. At the far end of the hall, Griggs was waiting. His calm expression didn't match the chaos above. "Detective Cole," he said softly, "you weren't supposed to come back." "Where is he?" Maria demanded. "What did you do to Ryan?" Griggs sighed, adjusting his tie. Ryan made the same mistake Knox did. He thought San Quentin was just a prison. It's not. It's a project. Maria's throat tightened. Project. The Promise Initiative, he said. A government contract. We traded life sentences for cooperation. Experimental rehabilitation, psychological, chemical, digital. We made killers productive sometimes. But when the results failed, the subjects disappeared. Quietly, her stomach churned. Ryan found out. Griggs nodded. He tried to expose it. We couldn't allow that. So we gave him a choice: join the program or vanish. He chose to vanish. The door behind Griggs slid open. Out stepped a man Maria hadn't seen in 5 years. Or at least, not the same man. Ryan's face was pale, his eyes distant, like he was trapped behind invisible glass. "Maria," he whispered.
She took a step back.
"Ryan? What did they do to you?" "They made me part of it," he said quietly. "My memories aren't mine anymore." Griggs smirked. "You see, detective? Hope and fear, they coexist perfectly here. We built a prison that controls both." Maria's eyes darted to the console beside him, a digital feed labeled Promise Subject Control. Her pulse quickened. "Turn it off," she demanded. Griggs laughed softly. "You think you can destroy what built this place? San Quentin's future doesn't end with bars. It ends with obedience." Ryan's gaze met hers. Something flickered in his eyes, the old fire she remembered. "Do it," he said hoarsely. "End it." She lunged at the console, slamming her hand down on the power switch. Sirens screamed. The lights exploded in sparks. Griggs shouted, trying to pull her back, but Ryan grabbed him, forcing him against the wall. "Run!" Ryan yelled. Maria sprinted through the corridor as explosions rocked the underground wing. The prisoners' cells cracked open. Dust filled the air. She turned back one last time, saw Ryan looking at her through the haze, a faint smile on his face before the smoke swallowed him. The elevator doors shut behind her. When she surfaced, the yard was chaos, guards evacuating, alarms echoing across the bay. She looked back at the crumbling main block of San Quentin. For the first time, it felt like the place was alive, breathing its final, desperate breath. Days later, the official report claimed a power malfunction caused the fire. The Promise Initiative was never mentioned. Griggs was missing. Ryan's name remained erased. Maria sat in her car, overlooking the prison walls. The sun set behind the barbed wire, casting the yard in gold and blue. She opened her glove compartment. Inside, Ryan's badge. Only now, etched across the metal, were 2 words that hadn't been there before. "Keep watching." She stared at it, heart pounding, realizing someone had placed it there after the fire. In the distance, San Quentin's floodlights flickered. Once, twice, as if answering her. And somewhere deep below those crumbling walls, a familiar voice whispered through the static. "The promise isn't over." If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one, hit subscribe so you don't miss it.